Mortal Kombat 1 or Mortal 1 Kombat or MK12, whatever you want to call it, comes out tomorrow. So I figured no better time than this week to continue our Mortal Kombat characters as Power Ranger story that we got going on here. Last time we looked at the two main faces of the series, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and turned them into the Yellow and Blue Rangers respectively. And today we're going to be rounding off that Power Rangers team with the Green, White, and Red Ranger. That's right, we got 3 drawings this week. I had a little extra time, so consider it a 150 subscriber special for the channel. 160 actually. And if you haven't seen part 1 of this series, then I highly recommend you watch that first, as this is a continuation of that story, but there are bits and pieces that'll catch you up in the story if you don't. But there will be a link up in the card if you want to go watch it, and if you do, I shall wait your return. Hey, you're back. Did you watch it? Awesome. And so, let's finish up the Power Rangers team. Let's get started. Henry had no idea how long he had been walking for. He stopped bothering to check the time after the 3rd or 4th hour. If Radon really needed a new team of Kombat Force Rangers post-haste, as he referred to it, he could have at least put Henry somewhere near civilization. How was he supposed to find a new team of fighters in the middle of nowhere? Eventually, Henry found himself wandering through the woods. He was starting to think that randomly walking in a single direction until he found somebody probably wasn't the best idea. He was considering turning back when he realized he wasn't sure which way back was. Sure, he had intended to walk in a straight line, but with trees on every side of him, it was hard to tell if that's what actually happened. It was then that he heard a violent rustle in the trees above him. Henry tried to face the source of the noise, only turning him around even more than he already was. Something was moving through the trees above him. He was being trailed. Henry stood his ground and raised his arm, ready to morph if the situation called for it. His head swiveled back and forth, trying to predict where his pursuer would come from. Unfortunately, Henry wasn't fighting on home turf, and that was enough of a disadvantage that he didn't notice an attack coming and was knocked to the ground, face first. When he turned himself around, he was looking up at the figure of a boy who looked roughly the same age of him, and was only wearing a vest to cover his torso. He held a rock tied to a stick in front of Henry's face, and it took a minute for him to realize that it was a homemade tomahawk. The boy raised the weapon, ready to bring it down on Henry, who was able to roll out of the way just in time and do a kip-up, putting him back on his feet. Henry took a fighting stance as his attacker rushed at him with the tomahawk still raised. Henry sidestepped the attack and knocked his arm to the side, but the boy countered it by sweeping out Henry's legs from under him, putting him back on the ground again. The boy brought the tomahawk down again, but Henry rolled between his legs and landed an uppercut that sent his attacker flying. Henry wasted no time. He brought up his arm, and the combat morpher appeared on his wrist. Kombat Force! Ready? Fight! In an instant, Henry was changed from his normal clothes into a ninja-like Power Ranger suit. The suit was primarily yellow, with gray arms and gray accents down the legs, with a matching yellow helmet, adorned with legs and a tail that resembled a scorpion's. However, the coolest thing that Henry wasn't expecting was a rope dart that appeared at his side when he morphed. Though he had no experience with a rope dart, there was a feeling inside of him that he knew exactly how to use it. Henry took the rope dart from his side and swung it around, having a little too much fun for the situation he was in. He swung the spear in a circular motion before launching it at the boy in the vest, hoping he would be on the offensive this time. Instead, the boy caught the rope dart by the handle of the spear and remained still. Henry stood his ground, waiting for a counterattack that never came. The boy dropped the rope dart that he was holding in one hand and began casually walking towards Henry, stopping only to pick up his tomahawk. He stopped only a foot away from Henry when he spoke. "You throw a fine punch, Yellow Ranger. Please, I mean you no harm. No more harm. I received a vision from Radon telling of your arrival. Forgive me for attacking you. I was not informed of your name or appearance, only of the arrival of a Power Ranger." Henry tentatively let down his guard and returned to his regular clothes. The two boys now stood face to face. "Yeah, well, you fight pretty good yourself," Henry replied. "I'm not surprised the big blue guy only told you a ranger was coming. His methods haven't exactly been the most convenient for me. I think." Just then, a beeping went off in Henry's pocket. It was one of the combat morphers. Henry took them all out, found which one was beeping, and then put the others away. Now that we're no longer trying to kick each other's faces in, what's your name, Axe Boy? I am known as Greyson Cloud. Henry took Greyson's arm and placed the green combat morpher around his wrist. The morpher instantly tightened to fit around it. Well, Greyson, welcome to the team. Now, can you get me out of these woods? Greyson led Henry through the woods, while Henry explained the current situation. He explained how Kyle's brother Bill and his friends were the original Kombat Rangers, but lost their battle with Contraltor when he shot a massive screen beam at them. Then, when Henry recovered from the blast himself, Kyle had donned the Blue Ranger suit and was about to face off against Contraltor until he was hit with a mind control beam and tried to attack Henry, only for Radon to transport him away at the last second. And then he sent me on the scavenger hunt to find you, Henry said as he finished the story. I wouldn't be surprised if the other two knew we were coming as well. Radon did not inform me of who the other Rangers would be. Like for you, I only know we will meet them soon, Greyson said. Figures. Either way, civilization is a good place to start if you're looking to find a person. The woods led out into a park, equipped with a basketball court and a playground. There were children playing and families spending the day together. Henry hoped the two of them didn't look too weird just randomly emerging from the woods, but no one seemed to pay them any mind. Henry looked around to see if he could find anyone who may look like they fit the bill of a potential Power Ranger, but with literally nothing to go off of, he couldn't find anyone. The two continued walking through the park, when all of a sudden Greyson shouted, "Look out!" He dove and tackled Henry out of the way, just as a large structure of ice spikes appeared where they had once been standing.
You've got quite the reaction time, child, but that was mere luck. The next time, my Blue Ranger will be sure to hit his target.
Contraltor stepped out of the icy mist, accompanied by Kyle, still dressed as the Blue Kombat Force Ranger. He swirled his hands around and an aura of ice began to form in his hands. He launched the icy blast at Henry and Greyson, who dove in different directions to avoid it. Henry yelled at Greyson over the iceberg. You go after Contraltor! I've got Kyle! Greyson nodded, and the two boys raised their wrists to activate their combat morphers. Both transformed into the yellow and green Kombat Rangers. Greyson ran at Contraltor, ready to fight, while Henry ran over to Kyle, but stopped just before he reached him. Kyle! It's me, Henry! Kyle didn't respond. At least, not with words. He formed another blast of ice and shot it at Henry. Could you try and not freeze me for like 5 seconds and just listen? Again, no response. But this time, there was no ice blast either. Instead, Kyle formed a sword made entirely out of ice. He rushed at Henry, swinging the sword. Okay, not exactly what I meant, but I'll take it. Listen, this isn't you. You can still take back control. Come on, we could be Power Rangers together. How cool would that be? Meanwhile, Greyson was doing his best to take on Contraltor. He was able to land the first hit when he ran at him, but he was now mostly on the defensive. Every time he managed to dodge a screen beam from Contraltor, there was already another beam charging up. Even with his tomahawk that he was now able to summon out of thin air, he wasn't able to get a solid hit in. Eventually, Contraltor got ahead of him and hit him with a screen beam that blasted him backwards. Greyson lay on the ground until he heard an ice blast and a scream, and the next thing he knew, Henry was on the ground next to him. Didn't see you try to land many punches on the ice guy, Greyson snidely remarked. I didn't want to hurt him. He's still my friend, so I thought I can talk him out of it. And how did that go? He wasn't in much of a talking mood.
It must be my lucky day. I've already destroyed one Power Rangers team, and now I get to destroy 2 more of Radon's Rangers.
Contraltor was standing right in front of them, readying one final screen beam. Neither Henry or Greyson had the strength to fight. There was no way out. Kyle, please, come back. Henry struggled to plead with his once friend.
Don't bother, Yellow. There's no one who can save you. Prepare to meet your doom.
Hey! Suddenly, a figure flew through the air and landed a flying kick right to the side of Contraltor's head.
I'm getting real sick of people
The figure landed a flurry of punches on Contraltor, rendering him unable to charge up the screen beam. They wound up for one final punch and delivered it right to the center of Contraltor's face screen.
This isn't over! I can't be defeated that easily!
Contraltor exploded into a ball of flames as the figure blew him a kiss. The figure then ran over to Henry and Greyson and helped them both to their feet, and Henry saw that it was a girl. She was saying something, but Henry wasn't listening. When he got up, he looked over the girl's shoulder and saw Kyle laying on the ground in his normal clothes. Henry pushed past Greyson and the girl and ran over and knelt at Kyle's side. Henry put 2 fingers on Kyle's neck, but couldn't feel a pulse. Panicking, he moved down to his wrist and luckily felt a faint pulse there. Kyle's eyes fluttered open as he came to. He tried to sit up, but only managed to let out a groan. Whoa! Easy there, buddy. What happened? Oh, you got mind controlled by some weird monster and then tried to kill me. No big deal. Oh, okay. Henry helped Kyle to his feet, and together they regrouped with Greyson and the girl who had just saved them. Hey, thanks for the save back there. No problem. It looks like you could have used the help. Name's Sonya, by the way. Like before, one of the combat morphers began beeping. Henry took it out of his pocket and handed it over to Sonya. Well, I guess that means one more to go. Maybe if we just stand around here, the last guy will come down. Just then, there was a sudden booming noise. All 4 of them turned around and saw Contraltor standing again. Only this time, he was growing and growing and growing until he was the size of a skyscraper. Oh, he's big now, Kyle dazedly speculated. Henry, Greyson, and Sonya just stared at the hulking behemoth before them, utterly baffled how they were going to defeat him this time. After a little while, the 4 of them heard a booming voice speak to them.
Rangers, return to base. You will need extra help to defeat Contraltor in his current form.
4 pillars of light surrounded the team, each one corresponding with their ranger color. When the light dissipated, they were in front of Radon in the cave from before. However, this time, there was someone else in the cave as well.
Rangers, may I introduce to you Lewis Kang, your new leader. Henry, the red combat morpher, if you will.
Henry fished the final combat morpher from his pocket and handed it over to Lewis.
Now, use your morphers to access the morphing grid and summon your Zords.
They did as they were told and called their Zords. A dragon for Lewis, a scorpion for Henry, a bear for Greyson, an eagle for Sonya, and a fox for Kyle. You ready, team? Henry yelled over the comm system. Simultaneously, they all pressed a button on their respective Zords. Each of the Zords began shifting different parts and combining with the others to form the megazord. The megazord stood across the city from Contraltor, who was blasting the streets with giant screen beams. He stopped when he noticed the Rangers and turned to face them.
Oh, finally! Someone my own size to pick on!
You won't be picking on anyone anymore, Contraltor. This ends here. The Rangers used controls and piloted the Megazord, running straight for Contraltor, ready to finish this fight. With a matching yellow Hamlet. With a matching yellow Hamlet. Insert deep Shakespeare quote here because I don't actually know anything from Hamlet. To be or not to be? I don't know if that's the right one. And they said buying this skull was useless. The boy brought the Hamatalk. The boy brought the Hamatalk. That sounds like it would be a band name. Like, hey, look, it's Tomahawk, but the letters are switched. We're Hamatalk. Not exactly what I meant, but I'll take it. Listen, this isn't you. You can take back control. Come on, we could be Power Rangers together. How cool would that be? I have to look like a fool. I'm not gonna know what that looks like until I edit this. I gotta say, I am very glad I got the time to do all 3 drawings. this week because I really wanted to finish off the main team in this episode in case I do decide to do a part 3. I mean, I did leave it pretty open-ended. But I also feel like the Red Ranger, which was the last one I did, felt a little rushed, or at least I felt rushed to get it done. So I don't know how often I'll do more than 2 drawings in the future. I would love to do more per episode, but right now time is not allowing it. I just got very fortunate this week. But overall, I love how the story is going. I don't know if I love these guys as much as the first 2. Like, the first 2 were really good. Obviously, my art skill has improved, but I don't know. There was something about those Scorpion and Subzero. Maybe because I like the characters more than the 3 I chose here, but it also worked very well. Let me know below which ones you like, and let me know what your favorite Mortal Kombat character is down in the comments below. That's all I got for you this week. If you had fun, feel free to just smash that like button. Just annihilate that like button. Perform a fatality on that like button. And if you would like to see more content from me, obviously there's part 1 of Mortal Kombat as Power Rangers. There's also Nimona characters as superheroes / villains, and a really cool fusion that I did last week that I'm really proud of. I'll put that one up here and maybe another one down here. But that's all I got for you today. I'm KyngPin Creations, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.